The Nigerian government has confirmed the forensic audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is underway. Finance Minister Wale Edun said as part of efforts to scrutinize oil revenue deductions and boost remittances into the Federation account. The audit is running alongside the implementation of a presidential directive requiring certain oil and gas revenues to be paid directly into the Federation account, with a review of deductions that reduce what ultimately accrues to federal, state, and local governments. To unpack this, I am joined by Dr. Tolu Aderemi, partner, Petroleum and Greece. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining me today.
Thank you, Perpetua, for having me. And good morning.
Good morning to you too. Well, we all know this audit is in line with the implementation of President Tinubu's recent executive order on NNPCL revenue. What do you make of it all?
Well, it's a mixed bag of the good and the bad. And what do I mean by that? On the one hand, it tries to strengthen accountability frameworks and transparency requirements of how we do business at the NNPC. On the other hand, it gives a wrong signal, to potential investors who intend to, invest in the NNPCL in the event that it decides to list on the capital market. But I think the more important point, which I've taken out of it, is what is new about the executive order, and which is why you possibly will find that quite a number of people have given different interpretations to that executive order. Some will look at, question the timing. Some will also query whether or not we're using executive orders to amend the Petroleum Industry Act, which just on Thursday of last week at our Insight program, we all passed a vote of confidence, coincidentally, on that order. And so that leads me to what I feel about it. To be brutally honest, I don't think that executive order is absolutely necessary at this time for the singular reason that there is nothing new about forensic exercises on NNPC. And let me draw your attention very quickly to one that was conducted by the PricewaterhouseCoopers consulting firm, PwC, between 2012 and 2013. Which was also reviewed in 2025 by another consulting company. So which means between that time and now, there's been no other comprehensive independent audit, if you see what I mean, than the PwC audit of 2012, 2013, and another one in 2015. The other ones we have had is in 2019, that's a release of audited financial statements. 2023, that's the Auditor General's report, and the 2024, which is the audited financial statement. Now, what did the 2013 PwC forensic exercise, what did it reveal, which is what I think, in my honest opinion, the federal government should pay attention to implementing it. Now, some of it could be by its own executive powers. I don't like to use the word orders because we're not a military regime, or by the instrumentality of the National Assembly. And when you hear some of the things that the 2013 forensic audit revealed, you will be astounded. So for example, one was that the total crude oil revenue was at $69.34 billion. And of that amount, only $50.81 billion was remitted to the Federation account. $12 billion or 12-something billion dollars was unauthorized deduction for pipeline maintenance, just pipeline maintenance only. We also had a kerosene subsidy deduction of $3.38 billion. NPDC, which I think is now NEPL, also had $5.11 billion revenue, which was not deducted. Now, that a forensic audit report clearly revealed, one, that we had weak reconciliation system, and two, that organization had clearly incomplete records, and went on to recommend, one, that there must be comprehensive reform, which was what came out, in the 2021 Petroleum Industry Act. Number two is that we must enforce independent verification of deductions. Number three is that we must establish clear legal frameworks. And really, that's where I'm going to. And so if any independent foreign investor were to invest or consider investing in the NNPC, it wants to see this sort of clear, transparent framework, as opposed to an individual or an office, which in this case is the office of the president, using executive orders to amend the constitution. Now, I know that it's becoming a norm from what we can see, in countries like America, using executive orders, to amend constitutions. But I tell you one thing: what that does is that it weakens the integrity and the commercial stature of your national oil corporation. In this case, the NNPCL. And don't let's kid ourselves. The PIA has created a commercial entity out of NNPC. But as it is today, 100% of the shares owned by NNPC is still held by Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, 50%, and the Petroleum Ministry, also 50%. So essentially, it's still held by the Federation and not federal government. And so therefore, the 100% is still on behalf of the federal, the state, and the local government. And that is why any such amendment to the revenue and what the government seeks to do, if we have time, we can talk about it. What the government seeks to do is good, but is it according to the right framework? Or is it according to the right processes, which is the intention of the 2021 Petroleum Industry Act?
Well, you took some of my questions out of my mouth, but I'll just mention this. Still, still looking at the 2021 PIA. I mean, in 2021, we were told that NPCL needed independence to be efficient, and I was obviously talking about, a commercial entity. But now that the president is talking about overhauling the PIA, does that seem to you like the government is clawing back that power? Or is the government simply raiding the company to solve a short-term fiscal crisis? What exactly is the issue? Because so many people I've spoken to on this issue, they have said the same thing. It's a commercial entity. If it's a commercial entity, is it supposed to be run this way? So many questions in that regard. Let me get your thoughts on this.
All right. And I thought that was why I laid that initial foundation, that today the NNPC is still held, by the Federation. And unless we go to list on the capital market, where you have private investors coming to, acquire those shares, then it's still going to be held. And that is why sometimes I can see the confusion. Is just like a military dictator who becomes a civilian president. Sometimes it's difficult to remove that gap of a military man and wear the gap of a democratically elected president. But let me tell you what my greatest fear is. Now, my greatest fear is that, which is part of the concerns you said people have raised, my greatest fear is that we're killing what should be an attraction to the potential investors when we decide to go and list on the capital market. And what do I mean by that? Now, Section 53 of the PIA makes it abundantly clear that NNPC should be an independent, commercially viable company. And when you take from Sections 53 all the way to 65, you can tell that 53 provides independent, commercially viable company. 64 provides that it must operate on a commercial basis. So you can tie that to each of those issues the executive order seeks to raise. To be honest with you, whoever advised the president, I think they should reconsider it, because everything they seek to do with the executive orders is in clear gross violation of Section 53. I understand the place of accountability and transparency, but those 3 or 4 or 5 items,
auditing.
Were you saying something?
Yes, I was saying auditing can probably solve all of that.
Absolutely. God bless you. Absolutely. And the PIA provides a framework by which this ought to be done. But more importantly, you see, as a country, part of what kills us is that we try to reinvent the wheel at all times. I have said it repeatedly, I still said it last week. The forensic exercise we need to do is to simply just go, just like the Orosanye report, when you talk about civil service reforms, go and pull out the 2013 or 2015 PwC report. It is so abundantly clear. It tells you everything you need to do. If you are not convinced, then attach the release of the audited financial report of 2019, the one of 2023, and the one of 2024. It gives you everything you need to know about NNPCL. And what you just need to do, I think what the government needs to do now is to move to implementation.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm afraid we need to go now. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.